How's it going, love? Yeah, you alright?
Yeah, I'm alright.
I left my wife Rebecca back in New York.
How you been?
I'm walking Kroshka right now. Then I gotta go to the doctor.
Got a lot of goals, not only just have a restaurant and a career, but Rebecca and I are hoping to start a family very soon.
What's happening?
Oh, everyone's just such a higher caliber, and you can just learn so much from everyone. And it's been really interesting to be a part of, and everyone's food looks great.
When it came to having the conversation about season 20, I know that how hard it is for her, but within half a second, she says, you gotta do it.
There's my baby.
And I am here to show exactly why all those sacrifices brought me here.
My baby.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for tuning into my podcast. You have a lot to choose from, but you chose mine, so I appreciate that. So a couple programming reminders. We are taking a little bit of a break from our Bear Season 2 recap. I have a special guest, Chef Buddha, Top Chef Season 19 and 20 winner, joining us today. So I thank him for his time. He's the Top Chef G.O.A.T. And as I mentioned, both the Season 19 and Season 20 winner. So make sure you follow on Instagram at Eat Your Content, and like and follow the podcast on your social media player of choice so you can see when the rest of the Bear Season 2 is going to be coming out. Chef Buddha, thanks for coming on the pod. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me, Rich.
Awesome. First, I just want to say congrats on the expectant twins. I saw that back a couple of months ago and on your Instagram, so you've got to be thrilled about that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about it. I've been keeping it in the background for a little bit and be able to finally say the news. And yeah, I've been planning it for a while, and now to have two at once, it's going to be very special. So I can't wait for them to come out. The twins are expected on 11/11, so pretty cool days as well.
That is pretty cool. And I'm starting to think 2 is your lucky number. 2 appearances on Top Chef, 2 wins, twins. So you gotta do something with that. Maybe play the lottery or something like that.
Yeah, I know. Two has been a very lucky number this year for sure.
So congratulations. Also, I noticed on your Instagram you just came back from Thailand, but it seemed to be a little bit more than just a vacation. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I won the Verbo vacation on season 19, and I just recently came back from Thailand. It was incredible. We got a villa. Obviously, the voucher was worth up to $10,000. At this point in my career, I don't really have a lot of time to spend it. There's so many options that you can do. Maybe like get like a cheaper villa and stay in Thailand for 2 months for $10,000. But I thought, best way to try and milk it, to try and get an amazing villa for a shorter amount of time and get my whole family involved in it. So I had a really good time there, and I just we went to Bangkok really recently, and we just ate at Gagan, which was incredible as well. Ate at May's restaurant as well. So I had a really good time eating, from high-end to street food. It was an amazing place to be.
Well, it looked like you had a great time, so I just wanted to highlight that. Again, the reason why I have you on, congratulations on back-to-back season wins for season 19, season 20 for Top Chef. I mean, that's a heck of an accomplishment. You're the first chef to do that. You're kind of also the last chef that Padma will ever say congratulations, you're the winner of Top Chef. So kind of in the post-finale whirlwind tour appearances, interviews, have you had a chance to kind of reflect on those kind of bookend moments?
So you definitely have a bit of time to process it, because you know that you won, it's still a couple of quite a bit of time to find out, to the rest of the world finds out. And it's really amazing when everyone else finds out, so you don't have to keep a secret anymore. But also learning that Padma was leaving in the final week of the finale, it kind of made the win a lot deeper than it was. If you can go any deeper than back-to-back and 2 wins in a row and World All-Stars. But knowing that it'll be the last time that Padma says you are Top Chef, it's another memory that I'm going to keep on for the rest of my life. So it was a really, really meaningful win, and more meaningful knowing that it was Padma's last time she will announce the winner.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your background before we kind of dig into some scenes from Top Chef. So you started, and correct me where I'm wrong. I was doing some googling. So you started cooking at 14, right, at your father's restaurant, and decided that that is what you wanted to do, and your whole family is basically chefs on your dad's side, right?
Yeah, so most of it's correct. Actually started when I was 12.
Oh, 12. Sorry.
Yeah, so 14, I kind of faked the legal age to actually working and started this apprenticeship at a five-star hotel. I just kind of like scratched out my 1991 to 1990 because the legal age is actually 15. So, but I was really keen on learning at a five-star hotel. And yeah, my dad is a one of 16 brothers and 16 siblings, and 12 of them are boys, and only one's not a chef.
Wow. Yeah. And then, after graduating, you traveled the world. You staged at some high-end restaurants, a couple of two Michelin stars. Here, you went to London, worked for Claire Smith, three Michelin starred at restaurant Gordon Ramsay. So you went around. It's almost kind of want to say you were genetically bred to be on Top Chef in a sense. How much of all that preparation really kind of prepared you for your appearances on Top Chef?
Well, when doing my career, I never really thought that this was a possibility because, first of all, I'm Australian. And second of all, when I was watching, I was like 13, 14. But even at that time, the world of the celebrity chef was not something that it was achievable or very, very new. So, me going into my career, there was no sort of path to, oh, I want to be famous and then become a famous chef. No, I want to be a great chef. That's what I wanted to be, and all those things along the ways of me being great, or I'm still on the road to being great, uh, all accumulated, and I was able to be able to show on the show. So nothing. I would say that yes, I did prepare myself while watching episodes and videos of Top Chef, but for myself, I was always trying to make myself better as a chef, not just a top chef. So uh, you can't just win Top Chef just by studying Top Chef. You need to be a great chef at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think with you and with chefs kind of upcoming younger chefs, they're part of a generation now where Top Chef has never not been on TV,
yeah,
and with you, I think I've read somewhere where you studied not only are you a great chef, but you did the other half of that work and really studied the game and really studied, what the judges liked and what they did like, what worked, what didn't work. So tell me what it was that as you decided to become to go on Top Chef, what things were you watching and thought about, oh yeah, I need to take note of this and take note of that?
so studying comes from a lot of things. I've been studying with really passionate about cooking. So whether it become an interview for a job, whether it be for maybe staging, and I stage at a lot of places. Before I stage anywhere, I know the chef's name, I know the dishes that they do. I don't want to make myself look like a fool and just walk in and go, oh, what's this or what's that. I want to make sure that I'm prepared to show that I'm serious. And so, in terms of Top Chef, of course, I'm going to take it seriously. You got one shot at it. Well, in my case, I had two shots at it. But the studying, the things that I was looking for was just watching it, getting used to the format. And I believe, I'm not the only one that did it. Everyone's done it. And going into World All-Stars, I knew everyone was going to do it. From the moment that there was a email released out to every chef with my season as a full link that they can watch to, and also season 17, I had multiple Top Chef winners starting to follow me on Instagram. So they already studying within 5 minutes. It's just that they probably weren't showing on the show as much as studying, But it's very important. You have to understand that Top Chef, there is a game aspect to it, but majority is cooking skills. But the game aspect can be, Top Chef is unlike any other cooking show where they go to different places around the US, or in this case, the world, and they like to highlight the stuff or the scenario where they're filming. So it's a no-brainer. If you're going to Texas, learn how to cook food from Texas. If you're going to London, learn food that you're going to cook in London. So that's a very big thing. That's already a big advantage already there. But I mean, with Wisconsin coming around the corner, you'd be a fool to not already start learning about the curds that they do, or the dairy, or it's the first thing that you do when you Google. The first thing I Googled in Houston when we found out was, what is Houston's national dish? What is that? What is that signature dish? And it was pho. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And then I opened up this whole book of like how diverse they were and started deep diving into that. So that sort of thing, that is like only like 1 hour of Googling. And, you should, if you're serious about being on the show, you should definitely put out time to make sure that you prepare. And I think that goes with any competition, really. If you look at NBA, you look at soccer, you look at all the people that do really successful, you have to put the training in to compete. And that's why it's called a competition. Because if you're not competitive, then what's the point of even being on a show? You're going to look like a fool. And, as much as you say, oh, but I made it onto Top Chef, it's, good TV. Yeah, but if you look like a fool, no one's going to go to your restaurant now. So it's a double-edged sword. You can, whether if you win or not, you still want to perform.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was your path to Top Chef? Did you go to an open call, or were you like, did somebody put your name in a hat? How did that even happen?
So I actually got DM'd, and I'm not sure if I got DM'd because I just missed out on Portland, because I did apply for Portland, but I realized that Portland was getting filmed. It was probably already getting filmed, to be honest. But I did get DM'd by a producer, and then from that, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to go jump on this opportunity, because in Australia there's no professional cooking competition on TV, and I've always said to myself as a bucket list, you keep watching all these shows as a kid growing up, whether it be Ready Steady Cook or um, Top Chef, Master Chef, but I said to myself, if I get the opportunity, I'm going to do it. And Top Chef is something that aligns with my philosophy about food, and how, the way the rules are. There's a lot of competition shows out there that I probably don't agree on how they, with their values. But Top Chef is something that I highly regard within their values of how the competition's done. And so once I got the invitation, I was like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it. And so it takes months to actually get the final say that you're on the show. It's a long process. So first of all, if you get chosen, you should feel extremely honored. But yeah, you better bring your A game if you're going to spend months just doing interviews and just to get onto the show.
Yeah, I talked to a few other Top Chef alumni, and I think there's a consensus that of all the cooking competition shows, Top Chef probably has the highest respect out of the industry as a whole, and chefs in general. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, of course. And I think that's because it's literally in the name, Top Chef. And I've said this a few times, because when you are put in certain scenarios, whether it be, I'm not going to name the cooking shows, but they're mainly shot in a studio. Maybe you don't even work in a team together, and or and so on. But Top Chef brings out literally every single aspect of what I think is a great chef. Anyone, should be able to cook in a studio if you're a good cook. But that makes you a cook. It doesn't make you a chef. There's a difference between being a cook and a chef. A chef should already know how to cook, but a chef also has a lot more different values um, than being a cook. And being on Top Chef really brings out those values in terms of leadership, dealing with people, like getting yourself out of scenarios that you're not really prepared for, working in different kitchens, things that you don't even see on camera. If you can't get that ingredient at Whole Foods, you're going to have to adapt and cook something else, So, and those are all very simple things that happen in restaurants. If someone says, oh, the box of corn didn't come in, well, you're going to have to adapt to the menu and go, well, we can't not have that dish anymore. Let's change it. Let's get something else and let's substitute it for a different ingredient. Not, oh, I give up. We're not serving it today. No, we need another dish. So they're the challenges that you find in your day-to-day kitchen, and that's what really makes you a top chef.
Yeah, in speaking to other alumni, that's exactly what they said, that these challenges, as crazy as they are sometimes, is really a microcosm of working in high-end dining or in a regular restaurant, everyday restaurant. You're going to run out of product, you're not going to get the right thing that you need, you're going to run out of money, and then you have to adapt. So yeah, so interesting. So
you
let's
speak of like quick fires. Quick fires is something that everyone you have family meal every day, and sometimes you need to cook for 50 people. You got 20 minutes left. You walk into the walk-in and you got this amount of ingredients, and you have to whip up some sort of a miracle because it's that one meal a day. So I've dealt with that my whole life. So I would say that I've been preparing for quick fires for some time now.
Yeah. So let's talk about season 19 just for a quick second. I always wanted to speak to somebody on season 19 because this was just crazy when I found this out. So Chef Jackson had COVID before filming season 19 and had no sense of taste his entire time there. Did you know? Did he give any inkling, or was it like, man, why am I tasting all of this stuff a lot of the time?
No one knew about Jackson's COVID thing. We always knew that he was very, very nervous, and to a point where it's kind of crazy. It's like, why are you on the show when you're so nervous about your own food and you're doing so well? And then we all literally, there was a time, I think it was during the double ganger challenge, like, I know I seem really, really nervous, but you'll find out at some point why I've been really nervous. And I'm like, all right, we end up winning the challenge, so I don't really care. And he's on the top every single challenge. And then when it got to Restaurant Wars, he brought that up, and you would probably see me laughing in the background because I was like, this guy's making a mockery of us because he has no sense of smell or taste, and yet he was on the top 3 for every single challenge apart from one, and he was killing it. So I was like, I found it really funny.
Yeah, I was like, a boxer fighting with one hand tied behind his back. I'm like, how is this guy doing so well with absolutely no sense of taste?
Yeah.
And then I was like, it was crazy to watch. It was fun. So season 19 was fun to watch in that sense. So you win season 19. You're basking in the glory of the win. How much time in between season 19 and season 20 did you have? Did they tell you right when you won, and hey, season 20 is coming up? Are you interested?
I was asked 2 weeks after season 19 final, the finale aired. So it was like around this time last year that we were actually going to, well, probably about a week or two out from flying to London. So I literally only had 2 months after the win to find out. And some of the contestants were actually notified years ago. So actually, probably even pre-pandemic, I'm pretty sure some were saying, because they've been planning the season for quite some time, and because they needed to lock down some people that were interested. I'm not sure if it was exactly always going to be planned for season 20, but yeah, they managed to get me in, and I'm not sure if it's a fact or not, but if I looked at it at a producer standpoint, I'm definitely not the first winner that they'll be asking to return, seeing that I was so recent, but also not only that, how many people I would love to see Michael Vittaggio come in, after so many years to come out and play the game again and see if they've excelled since that time. So, going off that sort of statistic, I'm not really the first person that would have called, but I think I probably was the only person that actually answered that call to come back and say yes. So there was not a lot of time in between, but I managed to. I said yes in a heartbeat. So, but it's a double-edged sword. You say yes, but you're still running off the repertoire that you just. I've had no time. If you look at someone like Amar, he had like, I don't know, I believe his season was 13 or something like that. He probably had about 7 years to come out with all these different dishes that he's learned over the last 7 years. I literally am coming in as season 19 put up into the season 20, and I still managed to do pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you barely had enough time to breathe, and you're on season 20 already. So even then, when you're telling me that others had years to prepare, that makes your win even that much more significant. That you basically turned around, went right back into the competition all over again.
Oh, it was
So
super difficult. I was actually talking to some of the international contestants, and they said we're not shy to use the dishes that we won our Top Chef with, and use it on season 20 because Pam and Tom and Gail haven't used it. So I can't use dishes like my pumpkin pie milfoy or my pavlova or barbecue beef bourguignon because they just saw it last year, less than a year ago. So there's a disadvantage to that as well.
yeah, so kind of speaking of that, how different was it for you to film to go through season 19 versus season 20? Like how much of a mind shift? Like you were just saying, you couldn't serve the same dishes that you served in 19 because the judges just had that one, a year ago.
Mhm.
So how much did you have to shift your thinking between 19 and 20, or was it just another day at the office for you?
Well, I'm lucky that most challenges were just like, for example, right? Um, in the Galveston challenge, I did a fish and chip dish, and if done correctly, it's an amazing dish. I've done something very similar to that before. But we also did the pub challenge, and we actually had an opportunity to go for fish and chips. We went off and did fish pie. I could have easily pulled out one of those fish and chip dishes, and it would have done really well because it's a dish that I've perfected before. But you know, it's not to say that the judges are going to ding you for that, for doing something that you've already done in a new season. It's more for myself to make sure that I push and I go further and I show not only to myself but the people that are watching why I deserve this. Why I deserve to be on the show. It's not because I'm a one-trick pony. I keep going and I keep going harder. And I look at the show and who do I think should win if someone was going back to back, not someone that's pulling out the same tricks out of their hat from last season. Like I want to show that I know a lot more than what you saw, and that's the reason why I even came back because even in the finale, I said like I barely scraped what I can show you, what I can actually cook, and then come season 20, well, I need to put my money where my mouth is and show them that I've got a lot more up my sleeve.
Yeah. So, how much of season 20 did you know about before coming on? And the reason why I'm asking this is you mentioned on the show you brought $1,000 worth of molds with you, and you're rewarded with 2 mold challenges. A more conspiratorial thinker might think, "Wow, he had to have known a little bit beforehand."
So everyone gets a box. It's not really a big box. It's probably about 2 shoe boxes put together. And I realized last season when doing season 19, I brought stuff, but it barely even filled the box. And in order for me to come up with more creative stuff and really have something out there, just if I need to fall back on it, I thought, well, why don't I just get silicon molds and maybe if there's a point in time I can whip it out. It seems crazy that I'm buying ice cube molds out of the shape of a skull, but it ended up helping me, being a big factor of winning the challenge. But whether the skull was actually a huge factor into me actually winning it, absolutely not. If I did the dish without the skull, I still think I would have won it because it's a cold dish that's representing emotion and temperature of a cold emoji. But in saying that, it's way more funner to do a skull that's freezing to death. So I'm there to have fun and use those sort of models whenever I can. Yeah, $1,000 worth of mods. It can get a lot, but it also can't. Like one of the mods is also $100. So you get 10 mods, 10 of them, which you'll probably need in a challenge because you can't just get away with making one mold of a dish. But I think the whole idea with the mods is that we are adapting to a different. Food is trendy. If we look back 20 to every single decade, there's a different style. There's dots all over the plate. There's more garnishes than you ever needed 10 years ago, but now it's become more minimalistic. And molds is actually, to be honest, for me, it's an old school technique. We're talking about the 1800s where people were putting jelly into molds. Like if you can't use them, like just because my mold looks different to your normal panna cotta mold, like we're in 2023, we can access so many different shapes than the boring cup thing that we turn over and put a berry coulis over it. What do you want? You know, do you want something exciting, or at the end of the day, it's still going to taste and feel like a panna cotta. It's just at a different shape. So I think that we are progressing in food, and molds are a huge thing in the cooking world. If you go to most pastry shops nowadays, you have a thing that look like an apple, but it's filled with like a apple mousse and apple compote. Those things were done like 12 years ago. So it's just they've been a very consistent and helpful utensil in cookery for a very, very long time. Not just now, but for the last decade. So it's just my molds happen to be a very different shape. And some of them were actually just built for actually candles that I actually brought onto the show.
Oh wow, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a rare misstep during season 20 and a little bit in season 19. What is it about Indian food that seems to have your number?
I've got an Indian curse. Second time on the bottom.
But in the scheme of things, it was a very hard challenge too, because there was so many components.
Usually I say to myself whenever I go into a challenge, I don't want to go home by tripping, and I tripped today.
I actually love cooking Indian food, and I think that the first one I forgot to say that it was a curry puff. You know, I got in my head, and I think as the judges were eating it or eating, you know, I called it a samosa, when realistically it was a curry puff. A curry puff is done exactly how I do it. You know, you do fry a buttery style pastry. It's called Marmite cuisine. And I think by miscommunicating that, you already put yourself in a bad position, because and it can be hard sometimes, because with the judges, sometimes if you do something completely different, like for example, Jay was doing, there's probably 4 Korean elements for a Chinese dish that she won, and she got, you know, she actually won the challenge. But I did one technique that the Indian chef didn't agree with, and I was on the bottom. So it's a very hard balance in between what are they looking for? Are they looking for interpretation, or they're looking for you to exactly do that dish to the T? So that's the way it plays sometimes. I'm really lucky that I didn't get eliminated for that. The rice, I think most of my thing in my thali challenge was super delicious. I'd eat it all over again. I just really stuffed up the rice, and you know, I overthought it because I don't usually cook basmati that often. I'm a fan of jasmine. I cook jasmine probably 99% of the time if I'm ever cooking rice. But you know, when you've got probably about 230 steps over 16 thalis, which have about 100 different things, when you've got so many things on the go, you're bound to miss something in the oven, or you know, you deep fried something a little bit too long. And that was one of those days, and it got me flustered. And even though I missed Padma's chicken curry, it was on the table. It's just that these things are like shiny mirror bowls, and it just miraged, and I thought, okay, everything was in there. And then as they took out all the thalis, it was like one of them wasn't actually in the thali. It was like right next to it. So, you know, I might have a little bit of a curse of it, but you know, I want to redeem myself, and I got really, really upset because I thought I was going to redeem myself in an Indian challenge, and I stuffed up the rice. So it's my bad.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that it happened at 19 and 20. I'm like, man, he just has an issue with Indian food. I think we found his kryptonite.
Yeah, but I love cooking Indian food. You know, actually, Malaysian food is, you know, part Indian. It's known to be quite and I love cooking Malaysian food. So, yeah, it just wasn't my days at States.
Yeah. So let's touch on Restaurant Wars for just a bit. There was a major shift in Restaurant Wars for season 20 versus previous seasons. There were no defined front of house or back of house roles. Nobody took on the quote unquote role of executive chef. Nobody took on the role of maitre d'. Some viewed it as, oh, it's just another team challenge. There's nothing special about this Restaurant War because one, you were in an established kitchen. You didn't have to create one from the ground up. And two, nobody kind of played those particular roles. Now, personally, I liked season 20's version of Restaurant Wars. I always thought the previous seasons of you guys shopping for plates and napkins and fake greenery was boring. I did not like that part. I just like the cooking part. And I hated seeing chefs go home because they were a bad maitre d' and not because they were a bad chef, right? So what was your thoughts on the differences? Because you had a unique distinction of doing both. You did season 19 and 20. You were front of house on 19. You did great on that one. So what did you think of the difference in Restaurant Wars in the two seasons?
So there's two sides of the story. Obviously, we have season 19, which we had the front of house. I absolutely love front of house, and I've loved front of house for a very, very long time. And I think as you do, you could justify saying, okay, the original format is what a Top Chef should be able to do as well, because eventually you want to be a restaurateur. You should know some basic hospitality skills. When I was working for some of the restaurants that I worked in, they made sure that they made a point that you have to learn front of house. So as a chef, you are like the commander, the captain. You got to know what every single part and aspect of service that they're doing. There's nothing that's too small or too big. So I personally love the front of house aspect and all the other stuff. But I mean, season 20 was a different story that not a lot of people really could understand because it wasn't really told. But it's an international version to start off with, and for a lot of people, English is not their first language. So if they were to be put into a situation where someone, let's say Victoire, who just only learned English 4 months ago, not saying that they would probably put her in front of the house, but if that was the case, that it would not be fair for her to leave because of her, not being able to communicate to the front of the house and so on. But it depends on how you really try to attack the Restaurant Wars in season 20. We wrote a plan. We came up with a strong concept, and that's where Restaurant Wars really becomes, the most important part of it is the concept, because like you said, it can just be a normal episode where everyone cooks their own dish. But when you have a concept, that's what they want to see. They want to be able to go into your restaurant and go, does it feel like a restaurant, or does it feel like 4 chefs just doing whatever they want? And you would never find that in a Thai restaurant. If you go to a Thai restaurant, you're not going to find a French toast or something that's or like Chinese noodles and sashimi. It doesn't make sense. It has to have a strong concept. But the biggest, hardest challenge of that, which no one really talked about, was that we only had 2.5 hours of service to cook for 50 people and do minimum 4 courses. 4 courses, which is almost 200 dishes within 2.5 hours, and making sure that every single dish is complete and done by that time. Like the time restriction, even though that we didn't have to shop and do all that other stuff, they made sure there was a pretty decent hard service to try and get all that food out in time, because some of the people weren't even eating as fast as the others, so it would delay us. So that was the biggest task. But if I was to go, which one do I prefer? I would prefer season 19, because I love that sort of aspect. And I know people don't like the whole buying the plate and cutlery, but it's that sort of fun that you never find yourself in life being to do. No one's going to say, hey, open up a restaurant in 24 hours, and I'm telling you now, you're already booked out before you even came up with a concept. It's really fun.
Yeah. So with season 21 coming back to America, so to speak, and not having to worry about communication issues and cultural differences, do you think Restaurant Wars go back to the way it was, or do you think they'll keep this aspect of it?
Look, for me, I think they'll go back to the way it was, but I know that there's a lot of people that don't want that as well. So it's kind of 50-50 at this point, because no one wants to see someone go home for bad front of house. But at the same time, if you've watched the show and that's where it comes to studying, you should start learning how to, if that's the case, because that there's 2 things that are guaranteed in Top Chef. Well, at this point so far, they might change it. It's a new season, but so far in the algorithm of Top Chef, the middle of the competition is always going to be Restaurant Wars, and there's always going, and the very end is the final cook-off where you can do whatever you want. So if there's any sort of challenges that you can really study up on, it's those two challenges.
Yeah. So in your restaurant wars for season 22, you were able to cook for Claire Smith, one of your mentors that you worked with early in your career. How much did that mean to you, seeing her kind of walk out and you're like, oh, it's Claire Smith. I know that person.
Oh. Wow. Yeah. Oh no.
Good morning, chef.
Good morning.
Please welcome your guest judge, 3 Michelin-starred chef, Claire Smith.
Oh, it's so good to be here. I'm so excited to see you all. I do recognize one person. Really good to see you, but it's been a while.
It's been a long while. I worked with Claire for 2 years at restaurant Gordon Ramsay, where she was the chef patron. She really developed me into the person that I am and how I cook.
Obviously, I know this gentleman, but it's all about the food that's on the plate.
Yeah, it was crazy. I actually thought, there could be a possibility of her being there, but I wasn't sure when or that she would even do it or accept it because she's so busy. And I know that she's been on as a judge. I mean, as someone sitting at the table for the finale of season 17. But I mean, I wasn't sure if she's going to be there. Like, to have those stars aligned is going to be very, very hard, especially with her sort of schedule. But seeing her it was crazy. It lit a fire in me, and it made me want to win even more. And after I did win it, it was like, I'm happy. I don't really need to win the rest of the show. This is probably the biggest, a huge win for me to be able to do this, and it makes my whole journey worth it up to this point. So I was super happy to be able to cook for her, and I said it in the after I won, which I didn't think they played, but I was trying to refer it to every single person in the room. They have that one chef or that person that really guided you, and you always remember, you're thankful for all the things that they've taught you to this point and to get you to where you are. And that was my moment. And, I think there was probably about half the chefs that were listening. They're all crying.
Yeah, and watching. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, because they share that emotion and feeling. They all know and understand what I'm talking about. Not everyone's got Claire as a mentor, but there's a mentor that's deep to them that really, really brought them through the ranks. And if they were to have that opportunity, of course, they would have want to win in front of their mentor. It's such a special challenge.
Yeah, I could tell too when they were talking to her after you had won, and she was saying basically how she was proud of you for winning. Like she was. It seems she was genuinely proud of you, not just playing to the cameras or just saying it to say it, but she was genuinely proud to see you because she knew where you came from, and then to be at this pinnacle of your career in that sense. It really, I saw it on her face. She seemed really proud of you, so I knew that had to be special for you.
Yeah, Claire's also a very competitive person as well. So she's done into the point where she competes. She wants to see her chefs that she trained win. She's become that coach now. So for her to do that, and there was also a walkthrough that not a lot of people got to see, but because I didn't do a walkthrough because there's so much happening in Restaurant Wars, but we did film it, and as a walkthrough came, she kind of like, after the cameras walked off, she whispered into my ear, "Don't let me down," and then walked off.
Oh, wow.
No pressure.
Yeah, so you can see it on my face when I won individually, and I was playing in a different game that time because not only did our team have to win, but I had to win this individually. And I played a really big gamble because by doing 2 dishes, coming up with a concept, look, no one came up with an idea to the table. And I was quite surprised because I thought in a season filled with winners and finalists that we'd be fighting for our concepts to be onto the thing, but it was crickets, and I was quite shocked about it. But by me putting my neck out there with the concept, the dishes, I helped out with everyone's dishes onto the menu, conceptualizing it, and also doing 2 dishes out of the 5 courses that was on it. If our team lost, I was going home. No problem about that. So I wasn't sure if they really trust me, or they really want to put my neck out so far. If we win, that's great. If we lose, you also get rid of Buddha. So I wasn't sure. If they were planning that, kudos to them, because that would have been, a major way. That could have been a major move, but it didn't. It ended up happening into my favor, and yeah, if we win, if our team won, I would definitely win. If our team lost, then I'd definitely be packing my knives and going home.
Yeah, it was interesting when I said there wasn't a back of house or front of house on your team during Restaurant Wars. It kind of naturally slid into place. Like you were the executive chef role, and Sarah kind of took on that natural front of house role with her talking to the staff and everything. And I interviewed Sarah a few weeks back for the podcast, and she said, look, it was Buddha's concept 100%. There would not have been a Cullen skink dish if it weren't for Buddha. So this was his baby, and the reason why we won is because of his concept. So high praise there. And you're right. So if the concept didn't work, it probably would have landed on your shoulders. So it was good that everything worked.
Because Pat would be like, "Why did you decide to do a Cullen skink dish, Sarah?" And then she'd be like, "This guy."
Yeah, right. And it worked out. She said that was probably the best dish she cooked, in the season, was that Cullen skink dish. So let's move on to the trompe l'oeil challenge, which I thought was really interesting. Out of the chefs that were in there, I think you and Gabri, I think, understood the assignment. I thought Gabri's was really fun. I thought it was hilarious that the unintended mess that he made actually worked out because of the concept that he had. And he's like, oh my God, oh wait, it's going to work. But yours in particular, when you made a charcuterie board of everything that looked like something else, was just insane. Just tell me the amount of work that you had to put into. I mean, we saw it on TV, but obviously you only see a very small slice of it.
Yeah.
What was the thought process, and how much work really did you put into that?
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to try and fit it into this podcast. It's a lot of work because obviously you don't have a dish like this on your menu. You will not find anyone having a dish like this on their menu, because if someone ordered a charcuterie and you got that, they'll probably scratch their head and go, "What is it?" But it all started from the moment that they were talking about. I think I was talking about a specific time. I think it was probably the 1800s. And as soon as they started saying 1800s, my head's an encyclopedia. It just goes deep dives into like archives. And I remember watching a show where there's a very famous chef called Heston Blumenthal. He's known to be kind of like a mad scientist. But he does a series on all these different fruits that don't taste like these fruits. They're all stuffed with different things. And one of his signature dishes was a mandarin that's stuffed with chicken liver parfait, which looks like a mandarin, but it's mandarin gel on the outside, and you cut into it, it's chicken liver parfait. Look, it sounds like it's, really, really modern, but really, realistically, these dishes were dishes that he's drawing inspiration from the 1800s. So there were dishes that were done a long time ago, and they'll do these for like dinner parties. So I was like, okay, so I'm kind of getting the riff of like what they're looking for. And I heard that we're all going to this beautiful castle. And I was like, okay, well, 1800s castle, meat fruit. And I was like, how about I do something where it's like on the lines of that? But it's like, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to do a mandarin, nor would I be able to make anything look like a mandarin. It's like, I could make a ball and put my thumb in it and push it down to make it look like a cherry. And from that cherry, it just kept on moving, because then it was like, well, you can't just have a cherry rillette without some sort of bread. And it's like, well, how are you going to make bread look like something? You can't make bread just look like bread. And then that's when the mushroom came into it. So I made a smoked bone marrow fat mushroom bread, which had no mushroom in it, but it was supposed to look like a piece of bread put inside like a little paper bag. And then it just kept on going off, and that's where I made a olive with goat's cheese and dipped that inside a balsamic gel. I then did a black truffle croquette that looked like a black truffle, but it was actually stuffed with Wensleydale cheese. And then and then I did. I think. Oh yeah, and even made like the little sticks for the cherries that were edible as well. So all these sort of things, and then I made the broth of the red wine glass, because once again I was thinking about those times, and I was thinking about a still life, and for some reason most still lifes have, especially when it comes to food, have a glass of wine of it. So I was like, why not do a glass of wine and color it beet juice? And it just came together, and everyone had a lot of fun with it. I called it "What's for Dinner," and I've taken something that was so, such an olden era, and brought it into something that's new, of like having all this produce on your table and having a glass of wine, putting your favorite album on, on your Spotify or whatever it is, playing in the background, glass of wine, look at the produce and go, what am I going to cook for dinner? And here we have this mushroom there on top of like the where the black truffle is. There's some rice. They make a black truffle mushroom risotto with, and then maybe a dessert with the cherries, and pick on some olives and drink some red wine. It's a crazy concept and idea. It's one of my favorite dishes that I do.
Yeah, I mean, it looks stunning. You mentioned still life, and the judges said exactly that when it got presented to them, that it looked like a painting. So I was super impressed. I mean, of all the things you've done, that was probably the most impressive and labor intensive of the things that you had to do. So looked really, really good. So let's talk about the finale. A couple of quick notes about that. So you and Sarah, I think, were going, course for course on the finale, and it really could have been a coin toss right up until the liver. So if Sarah had nailed her liver, how much of your heel do you think she would have been nipping?
Well, she could have, she could have won. There's no doubt in it. But I mean, when it comes to the finale, it all depends on your menu as well. Like at that point, I won 8 challenges. Like I've used up a lot of good arsenal, a lot of good dishes, a lot of good stuff, and that's what you choose to do during the show. So you got to remember that I've also done back-to-back seasons of producing, some of the best dishes. So by the time you get to the end, you pretty much going, well, what can I use left that I have not done already? And with Sarah, she went through a different path. She was kind of, she had one, elimination win, one quickfire win. Gabri, one elimination win. There's a tactic of you can be in the middle of the whole season and then just go with the blowout menu at the very end. But for myself, I decided to make sure I don't hold anything back. I want to prove why I won and why I deserve to win. And winning 9 challenges in total is the reason why I got to where I was. But even at that time, I was kind of burnt, to be honest. In the finale, I was tired. I was exhausted because I just did 2 seasons back to back. So I made it. And so it's a lot of mental stress. But I don't know. When you look at the liver situation, we can say this with every single situation in Top Chef. That's why someone didn't win or why someone didn't get eliminated. At the end of the day, you didn't do it. We can look back at a basketball game and why they didn't win the finale, or why they didn't win the championship because they didn't hit that 3. We can always go back to it, but they didn't hit the 3. That's the bottom line of it. And then it does suck for Sarah, but I mean, meat cookery is kind of really a basic skill, especially if you want to win as a Top Chef. And it became her Achilles heels 2 times in the season and caused her to get eliminated once. And then if you don't learn from that mistake and then you do it again in the finale, well, that's really up to you at that point.
Yeah, I thought it was really ironic that her partner for the finale was also was Amar, which is also the same where they undercooked their Wellington. So I was like, man, they keep undercooking the proteins there, and I just thought that was ironic that it happened again in the finale.
You want to know something else that's all right? That I in the finale, I was up against a chef that came back from Last Chance Kitchen named Sarah, who chose their person that they got eliminated with to be their finale partner, and then a Latino chef that chose their best friend as their partner. And then I ended up with the person that was very strong during the season. And you can say that for both seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That is crazy.
It's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So one funny part I thought during the finale too is when you all were cooking on Alain Ducasse's boat. I thought they really made it a point to say he's not showing up. They mentioned it a couple of times, and then he shows up. And I don't think I've ever seen a person as starstruck to meet somebody as I did with you, with Alain Ducasse. And you're looking for a camera, and you're getting a video selfie. He's like, this guy. And I just thought that was really great. It was really just funny to see. How much did that mean to you to see Alain Ducasse? Which I was talking to somebody with it the other day, that Alain Ducasse for chefs is kind of like Stan Lee for comic book artists. Like they all can trace their path back to him. So what did that mean to you?
Yeah. So once again, we did not know that he was going to come, and he was actually not supposed to come. He had actually a last minute cancellation of one of his things that he had to do. And he's like, no, you know what? I'm going to come on the boat. And everyone was shocked that he came. He just came unannounced. And they're like, well, let's get him mic'd up and let's get him to see the chefs. And he caught us completely off guard. And it's exactly what you say. You know, this is my field. My celebrities aren't the people on the movie screens. You know, my celebrities, you know, you'd probably say some music artists is huge celebrities for me because I'm really big into music. But I mean, for me, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a photo of like LeBron James or Michael Jordan. If you're an NBA player, you don't even have to be an NBA player. But I mean, even if you were an NBA player, that is huge for you because you grew up aspiring to be this person or got their book or got their favorite clothing because you saw them wear it. I wear Braga chef jackets because Alain Ducasse wears Braga chef jackets, and here he is in the flesh. And it's very hard to say it, but they're not here forever either. You don't know. We've seen all these greats like Jean Robuchon pass away, and I never got to, or Paul Bocuse, and you never got to see these sort of people in the flesh. And I'll never forget that moment that I met Alain Ducasse. He's got the most Michelin stars in the world. Whether if it matters to you or not, to even retain one or get one is extremely hard on its own. So for this guy to be there, it was just incredible.
Yeah, it was just neat to watch you fanboy for a second. So it was like, oh, Buddha, he's just like the rest of us.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there was no still camera that I could have found, and usually there's a still photographer coming around taking photos of us doing stuff, and I couldn't find it, and I was like, you know what, stuff it. I'm just gonna look deep down to the camera and break that 4-4 because I need to get this documented.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
Whether if they're gonna show it on TV or not, I'll take a photo of that footage.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. So looking to the future of Top Chef. So Kristen Kish was recently announced that she's going to be the new host for season 21. And with it kind of comes a whole new Top Chef because, with Padma being on for so long, the incoming chef testants coming in like, okay, I know what Padma likes. I know what Padma doesn't like. Be careful cooking Indian food for Padma. But with Kristen Kish, assuming she's going to be a judge as well as the host like Padma was, it's a wild card now. So what do you think about first her as a host and what the future holds for Top Chef in season 21?
I think it's an excellent decision. She was the first person that I thought would be perfect for the role, and I think what she brings to the table is representation of the chefs. She understands the game more than any of the contestants that are going to be on the show. They know exactly what they're trying to do. So they're going to have a tougher time trying to be able to, beat around the bush because there'll be some people, when Padma goes, did you mean to undercook your rice?
What a loaded question, right? What a loaded question.
And some people go, oh, yeah, I like my rice like that.
No, you don't.
And like, Kristen Kish would obviously go, no, you don't like it like that. You stuffed up, and now you're just trying to lie in front of my face. And, I've been there. I've thrown things in the bin while the camera's not looking or, all this sort of stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. And I think that it's just, Top Chef is always going to be the formats that, like, we love Top Chef because of Padma, but we also love Top Chef because of the production of it. Why, you know, the things that you learn, the chefs, like, it's called Top Chef because it's about the chefs, not about, you know, the host. And they've always said that. Padma, Tom, and Gail always go, the show's not about that. Yes, they are huge people in that are involved in it, but they want to make sure that the forefront's about the chefs, and the show's going to be the same. Kristen's going to bring, you know, a different sort of view, because you've got Tom and Gail who've been on the show for so long, but they haven't been on the other side before. Now you've got someone that has been on both sides, and it's going to be very, very cool to be able to watch people get judged, because she knows exactly what's going on from both sides of the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to season 21. Now, in other interviews, you've said that, you know, if they called you back, they probably wouldn't want to have you come back for a third time. But let's be honest, if Top Chef were to call and it's Top Chef season 30, Galactic Multiversal All-Star Masters, filmed live from Mars, would you answer the call?
Of course. I love the show. It's not about, I love the competition. It's not about, you know, I said it in the finale, it's obsession. It's not about the money, because I still don't know even what to do with the money. It's not about the fame, because I don't really, you know, it's not why I did it. I did it because it challenged me. And I think that when you're in an executive chef role, you are constantly looking for ways to challenge yourself. And that's why I always jump onto the opportunity whenever I can to push myself, challenge myself. And that is an avenue of learning. There's no limit to learning, and even though it's a competition, you're still going to learn. You can learn things about yourself, learn different dishes, learn how to dig yourself out of different situations. And yeah, if the time is right and I'm not doing anything too drastic or signed on with someone else, or I would 100% do Top Chef again.
Awesome. So I want to end things off with a series of quick fire questions. I asked Sarah this, and it was kind of fun. So I'm going to ask you the same quick fire challenges or quick fire questions, and then you just say the first thing that comes to mind. So you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So guest judge you'd want to have drinks with?
Richard Blaze.
Okay. Favorite chef testant dish that wasn't yours from season 20?
From season 20,
yeah.
Probably say Amar's Lunchains.
Okay. Least favorite quickfire challenge?
From season 20?
Sure.
My least one was from season 19 was definitely the biscuit challenge. I had no recipe for that. Season 20, I would probably say the biscuit challenge again. Season 20.
Okay, a side note on the biscuit challenge. What did you think of Chef Tom basically giving the middle finger to the challenge?
I'm coming up.
No, I got slaughtered.
Ooh, dessert.
Yeah, that's right. We call them clouds on board. We love to do them because I hate dry cookies. I cannot stand it. They're supposed to look exactly the same. So one is with beetroot puree and sweet and savory pickled blueberries, and the other one is with raspberry puree and sweet and savory pickled blueberries.
It's a nice cake, but we asked for a biscuit.
Yeah.
You haven't given us an English biscuit.
No, I don't like
You've given us a cake.
Okay. Cheers.
Thank you.
You weren't even there for the half of it.
I was watching that. I'm like, Chef Tom, you bad boy.
Yeah, no, he was passionate about it. He made it. He made sure that everyone knew how he felt about biscuits.
Yeah, that was funny. Okay, most regrettable ingredient that Gabri burned.
So many. I think the only thing that he always burnt was his beans. so there's only really one ingredient. He just did it multiple times.
Yeah, that's true. And then finally, your favorite filming location in season 20?
I would say the Trompe l'oeil challenge. It was a beautiful house. Like I felt like I was cooking in a museum.
Yeah, beautiful castle there. Well, Chef Buddha, I just want to thank you for your time. I want to roll out the red carpet for you. What projects do you have coming up that people should know about? Where can they follow you on socials, etc.?
So we're going to be reopening up a Huso site in Upper East Side, and then hopefully get a proper kitchen and a proper restaurant later down the year, and then hopefully, get a beautiful dining room, and then move on from there. But that's my first focus. Go a proper kitchen, dining room, because that's what I don't have right now. And then you can find me on socials on Budalo, 2 underscores. On Instagram, I'm probably the most active on Instagram, so that's probably where you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, Chef Buddha, again, thank you for your time. And everyone else, follow us on the socials at Eat Your Content on Instagram, at Rich Herrera as well. And thank you for tuning in.
All right. Thank you, Rich.
All right. Thanks. All right, man.